Welcome back for a trip down the Menai Straits. Weighing anchor just before dawn is always a good feeling. That great big area with all its red lights on it is an ideal transit line to get us out of the anchorage and into the Straits. Once into the Straits, we follow the buoyage and head northeast. That was our anchorage, just behind the red buoy. That's my brother and his boat Tarka. And that gap is the way out over the bar to Carnarvon Bay. And that's the mainland. It's been a nice clear sky and we've had plenty of moonlight all night. And now the sun's just about to come up and chase it away. There's little to no wind at all this morning, and as such we've got quite a reflection of the Snowdonia mountain range on the water, making it very picturesque, but that's the way I see the Straits anyway. That's Carnarvon in the distance, and that little bit of red you can see is the Marina Victoria Dock. That's the way in. I'm actually pushing tide at the moment, quite a bit of it, as you can see by the speed of the bubbles that go past. I'm doing 5 knots through the water, but just over 2 knots over the ground, maybe 2.5 knots. So I've given myself plenty of time, in fact 2.5 hours to do about 7 miles. You can see the force of the ebb on that buoy. It's making quite a wake. The sun has decided to put his first appearance of the day in and brighten things up. I can feel the heat it's supplying as it starts melting the ice off my sails and my sail cover. The plan wasn't to motor against the ebb for 2.5 hours. There was supposed to be, according to the weather forecast, at least a force 3 to 4 behind us, pushing us this way. Another month and all these moorings will be full of boats. There's lots of little inlets just after Menai. There's probably somewhere you can anchor in there and somewhere you can dry out in there, but you'd have to recce it before you did it. We are now blessed with a little favourable current, and also the wind is starting to fill in. As you can see from the GPS, we're making good headway under sail now. I think as we've got all this sea room, it's an ideal time to make a cup of tea. That's Bangor Pier sticking out from the mainland. It sticks out quite a distance, but you would never sail towards it because that side of the Straits is all sandbanks. The sandbanks finish about where the pier finishes. Seem to be getting a little bit more wind now, enough to keep me wing on wing on wing. And you can only say that if you've got a cutter. Any other time, this side of Anglesey would be littered with moored boats, but for COVID. We have now passed Beaumaris and are making our way up towards Puffin Sound. You can clearly see the weight of the Irish Sea through the sound. You got a red can and you got a lighthouse, and all as you got to do is make for the gap in between. You can see from the chartlet you've got plenty of water all around you. Stay in the centre and you can't come to much trouble. The red can don't float, it's built directly on top of rocks, which look quite menacing at low water. The rocks beneath the lighthouse and beneath the red can both disappear when the water fills in. When there's poor visibility, the lighthouse rings. Once you get through the sound, it's just clear water all the way up to wherever you're going. I've put a reef in the main because there's a strong wind forecast, but we haven't got any strong winds as yet. I think I'll have a little bit of a sail out away from the land and then stop for a spot of lunch. I think I need to make a plan now of how to stop for my lunch. I think I'll start by putting the wind vane on for a minute. At least then I can go below and see what I fancy. Squeeze this chain on somewhere about here. Yeah, that'll do. I'll go below now, see what I'm having. Looks like I should have took an extra minute or two to make sure the vane was settling. Starting to turn to windward a little bit here. Starting to slow down. I'll be stopped in a minute. All but lost my way now. You can tell by the motion of the boat that something's gone wrong, and then I think to myself, I hope it doesn't throw itself through a tack or a jibe. I best go out and find out what's going on. Looks like I best disconnect the wind vane. I think he's been a bit of a bad boy. Time to make a new plan. What to do next. I wonder if there's enough way left on her to come about now the way she is. Well, I think that answers that question. I think I'm getting two irons there, aren't I? Looks like I'll have to sheet the foresails in a little bit and then try again. I'll just leave her like this for a minute. The nose will blow off, the sails will fill up, and she'll power up, and then I'll be able to get a bit of pace back on. I can feel her just starting to bite now, like she wants to climb into a groove. She'll be off again in a sec. There we go. Enough pace, and we'll throw in a turn. Once she gets into this turn, I'm just going to let her settle. I'm not going to switch the sails over. I'll tie the helm up, and I think that's lunchtime then, isn't it? That's Puffin Island ahead of me, and the sound to the starboard of it from the seaward view. That's almost like hove-to, except for I think I'm a bit, well, I'm not nose enough into the wind to be hove-to, so I wouldn't make a slick at this point except on the beam. The boat, however, feels very settled and very comfortable, and it's an ideal platform for me now to be able to make my din-dins. If you hove to, I suppose wind speed's about as true as you'll get on the water. I've got my jib and my staysail backed, and I've also got the main with a semi amount of back in it because it's resting on the run and backstay. The tiller's lashed to leeward, half-heartedly. The water around the boat seems extremely settled. There's a very slight slick around me, but it's probably enough to stop any waves kissing the side of the hull. The boat's motion is very smooth and it's easy to manoeuvre around the decks, so it's going to be a lot easier to sit inside and make some lunch. Looking out to windward, it looks like there is a little bit more wind going to be coming along sooner rather than later. Going below, the boat is very settled, not much motion, not much swinging round. She's sitting at about 15 degrees. The galley is near motionless, perfect for cooking.